6 months had passed since that coffee meeting with Carolyn. 6 months since I'd started rebuilding my life on my own terms. The guitar lessons had become weekly jam sessions. The senior center volunteering had turned into a small repair business I ran for retirees who couldn't afford contractors. And Carolyn, that coffee had led to dinner. Dinner had led to regular conversations. Conversations had led to something I hadn't expected at my age: companionship. Real companionship, not transactional relationships disguised as family. It was a Saturday morning in early March when my phone rang. The number wasn't saved, but I recognized the area code. Philadelphia, I answered. Mr. Reynolds, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the Philadelphia Police Department. I'm calling regarding your daughter Jacqueline. My hand tightened on the phone. What happened? Your daughter is fine physically, but she's been arrested, along with Samuel Fisher. I think you should sit down for this conversation. I sat at my kitchen table. The morning sun streamed through the window. Everything looked peaceful, but Detective Chen's voice carried weight. Mr. Reynolds, are you aware your daughter and her ex-husband were running a wedding fraud scheme? A what? Wedding fraud? They'd get married, have expensive ceremonies, collect cash gifts, then divorce and split the money. Your daughter's wedding last year wasn't their first, it was their third. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the table edge. Detective Chen continued. Samuel Fisher's real name is Samuel Markovitz. He's been married 7 times in the past 8 years. Different names, different women, same pattern. Your daughter was his partner in at least 3 of these marriages. 3 marriages, I repeated, my voice hollow. The red-haired woman in your wedding photos, that's his actual wife, legal wife, Rebecca Markovitz. They've been married for 10 years. All his other marriages were fraudulent, including to your daughter. I couldn't speak. The detective filled the silence. We've been investigating Fisher or Markovitz for 2 years. He targets wealthy families, finds young women willing to pose as his bride. They split the take. Your daughter Jacqueline was one of his most successful partners. That wedding you paid for netted them approximately $110,000 when you combine your contributions and guest gifts. $110,000 from a fake marriage. How many times did my daughter do this? 3 weddings we can confirm, possibly 4 we're still investigating. The pattern is identical each time. Expensive ceremony paid for by the bride's family, heavy emphasis on cash gifts, divorce within 6 months, split the proceeds. I thought about Jacqueline's request for house down payment money, $40,000, that would have been number 4. Mr. Reynolds, we need you to come to Philadelphia. We need your testimony about the financial aspects of the wedding. We also need access to those photographs your photographer took. The photographs of Samuel with the other woman. Yes, those photos are crucial evidence. They prove Samuel was with his legal wife hours before committing marriage fraud. That's a federal crime when combined with the financial fraud involved. I called Carolyn immediately after hanging up with Detective Chen. She answered on the second ring. Carolyn, this is Horace. I need those wedding photos, all of them, especially the ones you showed me of Samuel with that woman. The police called me yesterday, she said quietly. I already sent them everything. Horace, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was this big. Don't apologize, you did the right thing, again. 2 days later, I flew to Philadelphia. Detective Chen met me at the police station. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She led me to an interview room. Thank you for coming, Mr. Reynolds. I know this can't be easy. Tell me everything. She opened a thick folder. Crime scene photos, financial records, marriage certificates, multiple marriage certificates. Samuel Markovitz, age 38. Real estate con artist, bigamist, fraud expert. He's been running variations of this scam for a decade. The wedding fraud is just his latest evolution. She spread photos across the table. Samuel with different women, different weddings, different names. This is Sarah Mitchell, Portland, 2019. This is Amanda Torres, Seattle, 2020. This is your daughter, Phoenix, 2023. And this is Melissa Chang, San Francisco, just 4 months ago. 4 different brides, 4 different expensive weddings, all fake. How much total? We estimate $600,000 over 8 years, but that's conservative. There are gaps in his timeline we haven't filled yet. I stared at my daughter's wedding photo, Jacqueline in her $8,000 dress, Samuel in his custom tuxedo, both smiling, both acting. And Jacqueline knew she was part of this intentionally. Detective Chen nodded. Text messages, emails, recorded phone calls. Your daughter was a full partner. She recruited other women into the scheme, coached them on how to maximize gift collections. She even wrote a guide. A guide. Chen pulled out printed pages. I recognized Jacqueline's handwriting. How to run a profitable wedding, a step-by-step manual. She literally wrote instructions for marriage fraud, how to pick targets, families with money but not so wealthy they'd investigate closely, how to act during the ceremony, how to split proceeds, everything. I read the pages, my daughter's neat handwriting, professional formatting, detailed instructions. Step 1, target selection. Look for divorced fathers with successful businesses. They're usually eager to show generosity to prove they're good parents. They won't question expenses. She'd studied me, analyzed my vulnerabilities, weaponized my desire to be a good father. What happens now? Both your daughter and Markovitz are facing multiple federal charges: wire fraud, mail fraud, marriage fraud, conspiracy. If convicted on all counts, they're looking at 20 years minimum. 20 years, my daughter would be in her 50s when she got out. Mr. Reynolds, I need to ask, the $65,000 you spent on the wedding, do you want to pursue restitution? I looked at the crime scene photos again, my daughter's face in that wedding photo. Calculated, cold, not the girl I'd raised, or maybe exactly the girl I'd raised and never truly seen. Yes, I said, I want full restitution, and I want to testify. Detective Chen nodded approvingly. Good, because we need your testimony to establish the pattern. You're not the victim here, you're victim number 3 of 4 we can prove, possibly victim number 3 of 7 total. The trial took place 6 months later, federal courthouse in Philadelphia. I flew back for 4 days of testimony. Jacqueline sat at the defense table, orange jumpsuit, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. She didn't look at me when I entered. Samuel or Markovitz sat beside his own attorney, separate trials but scheduled simultaneously. He looked exactly as he had at the wedding, confident, polished, except now in prison clothing. The prosecutor, a woman named Margaret Williams, called me to the stand. I swore the oath, sat down, looked at the jury, 12 faces watching me intently. Mr. Reynolds, Williams began, can you tell the jury about your daughter's wedding in June 2023? I did, every detail, the $65,000 cost, the emphasis on cash gifts, the way Jacqueline had steered me toward specific expenses, the request for house money 2 weeks after the wedding. And when did you first suspect something was wrong? When the photographer called me 1 month after the wedding. Williams introduced the photos. The jury saw them on large monitors. Samuel and Rebecca Markovitz, 2 hours before the ceremony, kissing, intimate, familiar. What did you do when you saw these photographs? I hired a lawyer, protected my assets, stopped giving my daughter money. Did your daughter ask for more money after the wedding? Yes, $40,000 for a house down payment. I refused. Williams turned to face the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, that $40,000 request, that was for the next wedding. Melissa Chang in San Francisco. Ms. Patrick, the defendant, was already planning wedding number 4 while married to Mr. Markovitz in wedding number 3. Jacqueline's lawyer objected, the judge sustained it, but the jury had heard it. Cross-examination came from Jacqueline's defense attorney, a man named Robert Torres, expensive suit, aggressive manner. Mr. Reynolds, isn't it true you've had a contentious relationship with your daughter for years? No. Didn't you evict your other daughter from your home? I evicted my other daughter and her boyfriend for not paying rent for 4 years. That's not contentious, that's enforcement of property law. Torres walked closer. Intimidation tactic. Mr. Reynolds, isn't it possible you're testifying against your daughter out of revenge because she didn't live up to your expectations? I looked at him directly. I'm testifying because my daughter committed fraud. Revenge doesn't require a federal courtroom, the truth does. Torres didn't like that answer. He tried several more approaches. Each time I answered calmly, factually. The evidence was overwhelming. His attempts to paint me as vindictive father fell flat. Other victims testified too. Sarah Mitchell's father broke down on the stand describing how he'd refinanced his house to pay for his daughter's wedding. Found out later she'd never actually loved the groom, been in on the scam from the start. Amanda Torres' mother, widow, spent her late husband's life insurance money, wanted to see her daughter happy. The daughter had recruited 2 other women into the scheme after her own wedding. Melissa Chang's father didn't testify. He'd had a heart attack when he learned the truth, survived but couldn't handle the stress of trial. 4 families destroyed, hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen, all for wedding fraud. The prosecution presented text messages, emails, financial records, phone recordings. The evidence was crushing. Jacqueline and Samuel had documented everything. Probably never imagined anyone would investigate. One text from Jacqueline to Samuel: Dad bought the expensive cake, $3,000 plus $8,000 on my dress. He's such an easy target. I could probably get another $20,000 before the wedding if I cry. Another from Samuel to Jacqueline: your sister's situation is perfect. While he's distracted by her eviction drama, he won't notice our timeline acceleration. We can hit the 4th target by Christmas. The jury heard it all, saw everything, the calculated nature, the planning, the complete lack of remorse. Closing arguments took 4 hours. The prosecution methodically laid out each element of each crime: fraud, conspiracy, marriage fraud, pattern of behavior, intent to deceive, financial harm. The defense tried arguing that Jacqueline was manipulated by Samuel, that she was a victim of his charm, that she didn't understand what she was doing. Then the prosecution played a video: Jacqueline at a bar 10 months before the Phoenix wedding, speaking to a friend, recorded on the friend's phone without Jacqueline's knowledge. This wedding scam is genius, Jacqueline said, laughing. These desperate divorced dads will pay anything to feel like good fathers. We've made $200,000 in 2 years, 2 more weddings, and I'm buying a house cash. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, came back with their verdict. The courtroom was packed. I sat in the gallery with other victims' families. We'd formed a strange bond, parents who'd been betrayed by their own children. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honors. On the count of wire fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of marriage fraud? Guilty. Count after count, guilty, guilty, guilty. Jacqueline showed no emotion, just stared straight ahead. Samuel looked angry. Rebecca, his real wife, sat in the gallery watching. She'd cut a deal with prosecutors, testified against both of them, received immunity. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. I attended. The judge, a woman named Patricia Morrison, read from prepared remarks. Ms. Patrick, you exploited the trust between parent and child. You weaponized your father's love. You turned sacred ceremonies into criminal enterprises. You showed no remorse, no empathy, no recognition of harm caused. The court sentences you to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You are ordered to pay $185,000 in restitution to victims. 15 years, Jacqueline would be 46 when she got out. Samuel received 22 years, 7 marriages, 7 sets of victims, 7 fraudulent ceremonies. As they led Jacqueline away in handcuffs, she looked at me. Finally, first time during the entire trial, her eyes held something, not remorse, not regret, hatred, pure hatred. I looked back calmly, held her gaze until she turned away. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us, victims' families. I gave a brief statement. My daughter chose crime over character. The justice system held her accountable. That's all that matters. A reporter pushed forward. Mr. Reynolds, do you have any message for your daughter? I thought about it, about the little girl who'd once brought me Father's Day cards made in kindergarten, about the teenager who'd asked me to teach her how to drive, about the woman who'd stood in my house planning my financial exploitation. I hope she uses this time to become a better person, that's all. I flew home to Phoenix that evening. Carolyn picked me up from the airport. "How are you?" she asked as we drove back to Paradise Valley. "Relieved, it's over, she can't hurt anyone else now." "And you, how are you really?" I looked at the Phoenix skyline, city lights spreading across the desert, my city, my home, my life. "I'm good, better than good, the truth came out, justice was served, my assets are protected, I have peace." We drove in comfortable silence. When we reached my house, I invited her in, coffee, conversation, companionship. 2 months after the trial, I received a letter, prison mail, from Jacqueline. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. The letter was 3 pages, handwritten, her neat script. "Dad, I know you probably hate me, I understand why, what I did was wrong, I see that now. Prison has given me time to think, really think, about who I became, about the choices I made. Samuel manipulated me, I know that's not an excuse, but it's the truth. He made it seem so easy, so victimless, rich people giving money they could afford, we weren't hurting anyone, that's what I told myself. I was wrong, I hurt you, I betrayed your trust, I weaponized your love for money, that's unforgivable. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I don't deserve it, I'm just asking you to know I understand what I did, I'm sorry, truly sorry. I have 14 years, 8 months left. Maybe when I get out I can prove I've changed, maybe not, either way I'm sorry. Jacqueline. I read it 3 times, looked for manipulation, looked for angles, found something that might have been genuine remorse or might have been another performance. I set it aside, didn't respond, wasn't ready, maybe never would be. A week later my phone rang, unknown number, I almost didn't answer, then did. Dad. Wendy's voice, I hadn't heard it in 7 months. Wendy. I heard about Jackie, about the trial, everything. Silence stretched between us. I'm calling because I owe you an apology, a real one, not asking for anything, just apologizing. I sat down, I'm listening. You were right about everything. Ben and I were using you, we saw you as a resource, not a person. That eviction was the best thing that happened to me, forced me to grow up. Where are you now? Still with Ben, but we're working, both of us, paying rent, making our own way, it's hard but it's honest. Ben has a job. Warehouse supervisor, $22 an hour, I'm working at a dental office. Reception, we're not rich, but we're making it work together. I didn't know what to say. Dad, I don't expect you to trust me again, I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know I understand what I did, and I'm sorry, truly sorry. Her voice cracked on the last word, real emotion maybe. I appreciate you calling, Wendy. That's it, that's all. That's all for now, actions prove change, not words. I understand, I'll prove it, however long it takes. She hung up, I sat with the phone in my hand, 2 daughters, 2 apologies, one from prison, one from poverty. Both claiming they'd changed, both asking nothing, both saying sorry. Time would tell if they meant it. Life continued, the guitar lessons became a weekly joy, the volunteer work expanded. I started teaching financial literacy to seniors, helping them protect assets from scams. Carolyn became a regular presence in my life. No pressure, no expectations, just companionship. We went to concerts, took weekend trips to Sedona, talked about everything and nothing. One evening, sitting on my terrace watching the sunset, she asked the question. Do you think they've really changed, your daughters? I sipped my wine, considered. I don't know, maybe, maybe not, but that's not my problem anymore. What do you mean? I mean I've changed, that's what matters. I'm no longer the man who let people exploit him, I'm no longer the wallet with a heartbeat. I'm Horace Reynolds, business owner, guitar student, volunteer, man who says no when no is the right answer. Carolyn smiled, I like this version of you. I do too. A year passed, then another. Wendy sent occasional emails, updates on her life, never asking for anything, just maintaining contact. I responded, briefly, politely, with clear boundaries. Jacqueline wrote 3 more letters, I read them all, never responded. Not yet, maybe someday, maybe never. The trust remained in place, assets protected, business thriving, life peaceful. I sold one of my hardware stores not because I needed money, because I wanted more time, time for guitar, time for volunteering, time for Carolyn, time for myself. Samuel Markovitz appealed his sentence. Lost. Rebecca divorced him, moved to Oregon, started over. She sent me an apology letter. I appreciated it, forgave her. She'd been a victim too. On the second anniversary of the trial, I stood on my terrace, coffee in hand, Carolyn beside me, the sun rising over Paradise Valley. Any regrets? She asked. I thought about it, really thought. No, I said finally. None. I lost daughters who weren't really daughters. They were transactions pretending to be relationships. I gained peace. I gained myself. That's not a loss. What if they really have changed? Then good for them. That's their journey. Mine is here in this house, with this life, with people who see me as a person, not a resource. Carolyn squeezed my hand. We watched the sunrise together. The photographer who'd revealed the truth had become the woman who'd helped me rebuild. The daughters who'd destroyed trust were learning consequences. The father who'd been exploited was finally, truly free. Justice wasn't revenge, it was protection, it was boundaries, it was choosing yourself when everyone else had already chosen themselves. I'd made my choice, and for the first time in my 65 years I was exactly where I wanted to be, with exactly who I wanted to be with, living exactly how I wanted to live. That was worth more than any amount of money, more than any fraudulent relationship, more than any manipulative family tie. I was free, and freedom I'd learned was priceless.